Sports fans, it's your man B. Austin here with War Room Sports, the absolute of absolutes in this new media sports game. Here with episode 255 of the War Room, we discuss the man, the myth, the legend, Bubba Chuck, aka Allen Iverson. The documentary came out this week. War Room Sports lends its opinion to a very polarizing and nostalgic gentleman in our youth as we grew up in this thing of ours, NBA basketball. We also touch on the Eastern Conference and Western Conference finals. The ping pong balls went that away. So we have the 2015 NBA draft order. Touch base on Robert Kraft and how he's laying down, quote unquote, for Roger Goodell. So episode 255 kicks off right now. You kick back, relax. We know you could be anywhere in the world, but you choose to be here listening to us, and we appreciate you. Episode 255 of the War Room.
Talk Radio.
We talking about practice. Not a game. We talking about practice. Practice, man. I mean, how silly is that?
Welcome to the War Room. We got Dad, Kill, Jimmy, PJ, B. Austin, the Hot Block Commander. How you want it in the 1 or 2 hour show to keep the brain running with the premise to talk sports on a national level. Bold with the topics, sorta like some rebels. When it's game time, they like the Fab Five during prime time. Sports conglomerate to speak their minds a little bit. For sports medicine and sports veterans and greats. The 4 for 26, so the war ain't Kuwait. It's the War Room with 5 nights at the round table. 5 Philly guys diversified and educated.
What up, sports fans? You are once again live in the War Room, brought to you by War Room Sports on that WRS Podcast Network. I'm your boy, Devin McMillan, and I'm at the round table with the generals, Jimmy the Blueprint and B. Austin. We got some great topics for you today. We got NBA Conference Finals, NBA Draft Lottery, NFL rule changes, and the Allen Iverson documentary, and more. So keep it locked in the War Room, and if you want to get in on the live conversation, join us right now in the JW Philly Realty chat room at blogtalkradio.com/the War Room, or join us on Facebook or Twitter at War Room Sports. You can also call us directly in about 30 minutes when we open up the Digital Extreme Tech hotline at 323-410-0012. But before we get started, make sure you remember to check out the War Room Sports Podcast Network throughout your work week. When we're not live on the air, visit warroomsports.com, click on the WRS Podcast Network tab, or listen to us on War Room Sports mobile app or on iTunes. You'll find some of the best shows the web has to offer, such as the Broad Street Line. Shout out to Roy and Chris. After Further Review, shout out to the Mayor. Tissue and the Tape Hip Hop Show with Phil and Savad, the best in the business. Shout out to those guys. Sports Trap Radio with Brandon and Anthony, the Mad Scientist Sports Lab with Nick Ficarelli, and a whole lot more. You can also check the listings at fatsradio.com for airtimes of all your favorite WRSPN sports shows, including our show, The War Room, which airs over there a few times per week. So make sure you check that out. That's fatsradio.com, PHATZ radio.com. Fellas, I don't know if y'all are fans. I'm a fan. I'm not a huge late night TV guy, but you know, throughout my years when I did choose to watch a late show, I was kind of a Letterman fan. You know, I always thought he was a real funny cat, enjoyed what he did. His last show was last night. He went out to 14 million viewers, and you know, I just wanted to give him a shout out because David Letterman, one of the best that ever did it. His show ran for like 33 years, something like that. And then you guys a fan of late night television?
I'm kind of like you. Like I don't even watch it, but I was still sad because David Letterman was funny as all get out, and I supported his work.
Yeah, like
I really wasn't
now
sad.
that he's gone. Okay, Jim.
I was gonna say I really wasn't sad. I really didn't care. Shout out to Arsenio Hall. That's the last time I watched late night. I don't really mess with Leno or Letterman, but I do mess with Jimmy Fallon though. Jimmy Fallon show is hot. That's the one I bangs with that. But
Yeah,
Leno and Letterman.
that's actually what I was about to say. I'm like, now that Letterman won't be around, I mean, I've already started. Like, Jimmy Fallon is probably the one that I watch the most now. If I catch it, if I'm up and I'm not watching sports or some West Coast game or something. Jimmy Fallon's show is funny as hell. I mean, even if I'm not watching, I watch clips from his show on the internet all day, every day. So he definitely will be the one in my eyes. And Jimmy did a real classy move last night, man, because Letterman was going out last night. Their shows directly compete with each other. He purposely ran a rerun so Letterman could get his just due, on his retirement. So shout out to Jimmy Fallon for doing that. Shout out.
Yeah, I peeped that. I support that. Salute to Fallon. It was hot. Yeah.
No doubt. All right, well, let's get into some of these sports topics that happened this week, man. Let's talk about what happened this week while all you good people out there on the grind trying to make an honest living for yourself. And On the Grind, as usual, is brought to you by DirecTV. If you'd like a better TV experience than cable has to offer, including the NFL Sunday Ticket, go to our website, warroomsports.com. Click on the DirecTV logo and order yourself a better TV experience at a discounted War Room Sports sign-up rate. If you call yourself a sports fan, then you got to have DirecTV. All right, Roger Mayweather. I don't even know if this happened this week. I think this happened a while ago. But Roger Mayweather, Floyd Mayweather's uncle, he's on video, basically saying that he's vowing to, beat up a woman that sprayed him with pepper spray. The story goes he was in a discount shop in Vegas somewhere, and he was trying to hit on these two women. They were kind of passing on his advances. They didn't really want the attention from him, probably. I mean, look at him. But he kept going. He kept being persistent about the whole thing, and one of them sprayed him with pepper spray and then ran. Then Roger somehow was on video saying, the next time I see her, she gonna feel the real deal, whatever that means. Like, you could take that any one of, several ways, but the report is he's vowing to beat this woman up the next time. What do y'all think about this and the Mayweather camp's propensity to put their hands on women? That was an alley-oop for me.
I think it's genetic. I think it's a matter of nurture. So it's genes. Just because you're able to demonstrate that you're a great pugilist doesn't mean that you're not a witch at a coward. So I can see where Floyd gets the cowardice from, laying his hands on women. You dudes are cut from the cloth of Ike Turner.
They said he was going at the women in a disrespectful manner. That's why, it ended up in a pepper spraying, and then the chick just ran.
I wonder if if this is, I mean, it's egregious either way. Because my thing is, I guess they just feel like, they got bread so they could do what they want to do. But there's still rules and things you have to abide by in this land, man. So Uncle Roger, you're out of control. You should be ashamed of yourself.
When you're on the money team.
But I wonder, how old this is. Yeah, how old this is, because we know that lately everything about Floyd has been coming up in terms of him and this, with the feminism movement and the collective power they're gaining, and also the fact that he's just been in the news. And now, everything under the sun is coming out. I think I sent you the article, Bev, where one of his homies got an altercation with a woman. He had nothing to do with it, but they put an article about it and had Floyd's. They didn't even have his homie in it. They had Floyd's picture in it. A member of Floyd's entourage got in an argument with a woman, and it's Floyd's picture. So, I mean, it's out of control. But at the end of the day, they're giving them ammunition.
When you beat up 5 women and end up with 6 charges, I guess you're gonna get your picture mentioned with that.
Yeah. Well,
no, I agree with that. I agree with that. But my thing is this, though, B. Austin. He's a terrible human being, but we need to hold accountable some of these people that are letting him go with this. The authorities and everything, from my understanding of everything I read, that, because he generates so much revenue for Vegas, they kind of let him do what he wants to do. They need to be held accountable as well.
It all centers around, that's a very good point. It all centers around, from the traditional, quote unquote, white media standpoint, he's generating so much money, they don't care. I mean, they don't care, and they're building him up to tear him down, and he's so easy.
But is
to
it
tear
really
him
that
down
serious?
They'll tear him down.
This is still Las
I'm about
Vegas.
to tell
They
y'all-
generate
I'm about to
crazy
tell y'all
amounts
what's
of
gonna
money
happen.
every day.
Then on the other side of that, though, Dev, you have the Black protectionist movement, who thinks that all Black people who are successful in any way of life should be protected, and nothing bad should ever be said about them because they're Black, famous, and wealthy. So,
Well, let me tell you what's going to happen, B. Austin. What's going to happen is he's going to put his hand on one of them white Nubian queens like he do our sisters, and that's when it's all going to go downhill for him right there. He's going to hit the wrong white woman, and all this is going to go downhill. They're going Jack Johnson him, y'all.
All right, well, but this ain't about Floyd. This is about Uncle Roger. He had a prior arrest in Las Vegas back in 2009 when he allegedly attacked a female boxer that he was actually training. They said he hit her multiple times in her ribs before proceeding to choke her and cause her to spit blood. So he definitely was. He went to the body
this
like
is a
they were
Mayweather trait.
So this is Uncle
beat
Roger.
on women.
This is not about Floyd. This is Uncle Roger doing his dirt. So I don't know. I mean, this time he can't really get in trouble because she pepper sprayed him. He didn't actually get a chance to beat her up. Hopefully he doesn't see her again, so we don't have to hear anything about this again. But somebody grab your man Aaron Hernandez, because this dude is out of control right now. He is out of control right now.
Putting in work. Pyro.
He allegedly this week acted as a lookout in a quote unquote gang related prison fight. Supposedly one guy was going into another guy's fight to shoot the fair one. I mean, it's jail, so I don't know how fair the fair one actually is. And Aaron Hernandez was the lookout while the dude went in there and handled his business for their quote unquote gang. I guess it's really not quote unquote. I think it's common knowledge that Aaron Hernandez is a gangbanger and he has no problem laying the murder game down. But this is a guy, okay, you have been convicted of murder. The judge did give you the long ride, but you're still in a situation where you have another murder trial pending. You're still in the window where you can get an appeal. Why is he not at least chilling until he's 100% sure that he's going to get this long ride? Like, what's wrong with the dude?
Jimmy, you want to take it, Jimmy?
I was just going to say that he's already, basically accepted his fate. The appeal and everything is just a matter of time. He's just going through that, but he's accepted his fate. He's determined to continue to live a different lifestyle, so he's adjusting to the, the prison climate. He met up with his gang that he, dealt with obviously on the outside. I mean, this is who he is. It's just, I mean, the more things that happen, you realize that Aaron Hernandez basically played football on the side. He's not a football player. He's riding that five. He's a gangbanger who happened to be able to play football. It's like a joke we always have in the movie, right? A gangbanger with speed.
Another gangbanger with speed.
That's kind of who he is. But he definitely is not a baller. He's a gangbanger having the ball on the side. So he's accepting his fate. He's accepting his fate, and he's just riding with his gang, man. He got a new tattoo and everything.
Yeah.
I'm going to take another approach that's similar. I mean, Dev, you in your life, you've worked more than one job, right?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, always. Everybody got to.
I'm always got different various income streams at the same time.
This is his other job. His first job didn't work out, and now this is what he's committed to. He had the commitment to football. They tore that contract up, but he's still a member of an organization where he's committed to being a successful and lucrative. Well, no, I don't know how lucrative it is, but a successful member of the other organization.
His books might look nice though.
He's putting in work.
Yeah. Somebody gonna put money on his books because he in there looking out while they lay the game down up in there.
He already has a new tattoo on his neck that he didn't have before he went into prison. So he's
he didn't have this. He didn't have this neck tattoo during his last appearance in court.
Yeah, so this shows you that he's fully
knows what it is.
Living that lifestyle.
He knows what it is.
He's like, look, I can't be Tony Gonzalez, so I'm going to be Adebisi. Like, this is just what it is.
He might be better at this than football.
Who gets a new neck tattoo when they're still in the window of an appeals process and they still have another murder trial? Who does this besides somebody who just gives no F's?
Committed gangbanger.
He gives none. Yo, Aaron Hernandez, you got to chill, man. You got to chill. And before we move on, Hernandez and Roger Mayweather, man.
You should be ashamed of yourself. The way you carry yourself.
I had to get that out of the way. We probably got some more of those coming up in the show, but this next story, man, I don't know how y'all gonna take it. I mean, I do. I know you fellas, and we think the same on matters like this. This is not a JoJo Award nominee story. This is a story of a pimp, a G, a money-making machine, and he goes by the name of Charlie Weiss. I don't know if everybody out there knows, but Charlie Weiss was fired from the Notre Dame football program a good 5 years ago. And
a long time.
Ever since then, he's been getting $2 million a year from Notre Dame to go that away. Let me give you the exact numbers. They paid him $54,744 for the reporting period of July 2013 through 2014, according to the university's federal tax return. The sum that he's gotten not to coach the Irish since he's been fired so far is $14,857,379, and they still have 2 more payments left. So after his firing, what he's going to get paid from Notre Dame could end up exceeding $18 million, almost $19 million, $18,966,867 is going to be the total that he gets from Notre Dame. Fellas, mind you that no other coach at Notre Dame, that goes for Brian Kelly, the current football coach, Mike Bray, the men's basketball coach, and the women's basketball coach, Muffet McGraw, and the athletic director, Jack Swarbrick. He makes more from Notre Dame right now on a yearly basis than all of these people. None of them get paid $2 million a year. Yo, come on, Charlie. Yo,
don't hate the play.
Get us. No. Yo, no hills, but I'm loving the player. He has to hook us up with his agent. Charlie, that dude.
Yo. I go by the name of Pharrell.
You know what?
Charlie was grinding.
This should have actually been the stat of the week. This should have been the stat of the week. Because fellas, I'm not even finished. Remember, after he left Notre Dame, he got hired at Kansas and got fired there. Kansas also owes him $5.63 million. So from 2 schools altogether, he's going to get $24.5 million for being a failure. I'm not talking about what they paid him while he was there. $24.5 million during the time that he did not coach these teams.
Yo.
Failure.
I go by the name of Pharrell.
Yes. Salute.
Yeah, gotta salute a hustler, man. That was, and he really hasn't been active in coaching since. I mean, once they got rid of him at where was it, Kansas? Yeah. Ain't nobody trying to mess with
For
Charlie.
what?
Charlie's like, why should I? For what? I got my money.
Yo, he's sticking people up without a gun. He got schools out there like this.
Calling the police.
Yo, Charlie is that dude. All right, so we just had to throw that out there. I mean, we don't have a reverse JoJo Award. I mean, these schools for getting stuck up like this might deserve JoJo Awards, but Charlie, he got the grinding award for this episode. Charlie White's still doing his thing, and he's not doing his thing at all.
Charlie
Last
out there,
story.
like his name is Jaime White.
This isn't even really sports related, unless you want to relate this to motorsports. But everybody's heard the news about the biker gang massacre / shootout / whatever you want to call it, that happened earlier in the week, late last week in Waco, Texas. Fellas, what do you think about this story? And most importantly, I know you guys have opinions on this. What do you think about the way it's being reported?
Three quick things. Number one, I like to compare that to the Baltimore situation.
That was live news for like 9 days straight, and no one died.
Live news for 9 days, and I'm not sure how many people died. I don't believe anyone did. Then we have 9 people get murdered, and it's getting press.
Freddie Gray,
but Freddie Gray caught one. But then I think it's funny that these biker gangs are known, and it's important to talk about this because gangs, one of the important designations of gangs is race. Like, these biker gangs are not black gangs. Traditionally, they don't start or take root in the black community. They don't contribute to quote unquote black on black crime. And most of them are Caucasian or Hispanic. And yet the one person that they chose to put up on the screen to represent this massacre in Waco, Texas, was a black guy, a former detective.
Was the black dude.
Now, there's a lot of irony in that.
Listen, man. One thing I gotta say is, riding through this world all alone. This was some like really Sons of Anarchy type stuff, right? And as soon as the story happened, I already knew what it was going to be. I mean, the thing about it is, like, this is what we expect to happen at this point, right? So it's not really surprising. At the end of the day, we got to control our own news. This is not our news. You know what I mean? Like, we have to be able to control our own news, and we don't control our own news, so this is what we get. But the fact of the matter is, the masses believe this nonsense, right? So it's a lot of different problems with this because when I saw the story first break, so I'm on social media like everybody else, and then you see the comments, right? And you see the comments when people haven't even read the actual story. So when you read through the story and you see what B. Austin just said in terms of them putting the face out for this whole ordeal and it being an African American, and then you know, within the context of this, and you see the different language that's being used, and then when you cut on the TV, you actually see people defending the fact that they're not using thugs or savages in these words. Did you guys see the one guy who said, well, it's not our fault. I mean, it's your fault that we call y'all that. He actually said that on TV.
Wow.
I don't know if y'all, I'm going to find the clip for y'all. It was on CNN. He said,
I didn't see that.
Boy basically said this. He was like, yo, if you didn't say it in your rap music, then we wouldn't call you that. So you gave us the right to call you that. Like, white people don't go around calling themselves that in their music. I say, yo. He actually said that on TV. So, I mean, wow. We don't control our own news, so this is what we get.
Yeah. So, I mean, the way it's being reported is crazy. I mean, it's getting its fair share of attention. So the people that's screaming that may be a little wrong. I mean, it's not a situation that's live and ongoing like Baltimore, so we can't really compare it to that. But just the way the police handled it, the way, like Jimmy said, the words they're using, and like B. Austin said, the person that they decided in the last couple of days to profile in this whole thing, where 170 people were arrested, 9 people were killed, and I think like 20 more were injured. They chose probably 0.00002% of the race that took part in this whole thing to profile the whole thing. And they're going to try to make you think it's because the guy was a former police officer in San Antonio or something like that. So that's the story, and that's the reason why they're putting his face all out there. But it doesn't make sense. You saw photos of this, the police had the guys, sitting on curbs, no handcuffs. Dudes are on their phones texting and doing whatever else. It's just a crazy situation of how differently people are treated. And we all know why. I mean, think about if this happened in Baltimore. Think about if this happened on the south side of Chicago, how people would have been treated, what people will be being called right now. Like, it's crazy. 9 people died. They got into a fight in a restaurant over a parking space and somebody getting their foot rolled over, and 9 people ended up dead. And we're not allowed to call them thugs because they don't call themselves that.
Listen. 5 criminal organizations, though. That's the other thing. This was 5 organizations with known criminal history and past and criminal activities.
All along. Listen, but Dev, here's my question.
Like, Sons of Anarchy was present, like that, but that 1%er organization was there, and we're covering this like, oh no, it's no big deal, no big deal.
I got a couple things. And you made a great point, right? That they're criminal organizations that they knew were meeting. They were allowing them to meet. Like, the cops were outside, basically like, go ahead, have y'all meeting. So you got to add that to it, right? Now, on top of that, my question is this, right? I mean, we're brothers. We know that racism exists and always has existed. White privilege is real. These things are real. But, like, it's so blatant now. Like, over the last several years, it's been so blatant. I think it correlates with, Barry, our president. Like, since he's come in office, it just got out of control. Like, it's like he won the presidency and race relations went back like 25 years.
Because they always want to throw that in your face when the talks come up. Like, the president is black. What else do you want? So it's like they feel they can be more comfortable with being blatant because we were, quote unquote, thrown this bone of a black president.
Got on CNN and said, y'all allow us to call y'all that.
Yeah. So yeah, this was this is definitely a crazy story. We'll see how it all plays out. But the media in this situation, you definitely deserve one of these.
You should be ashamed of yourself, the way you carry yourself.
All right, Jim, man, let everybody know who's having a birthday today.
You already know. Definitely got to get these birthday shout-outs. And for those who haven't listened or maybe haven't listened in a while, the birthday shout-outs are still brought to you by Digital Extreme Technologies. Do you or your business need a custom website? Well, for dynamic, professional, and most of all, affordable custom website solutions, you need Digital Extreme Technologies. No need to break the bank for an effective online presence, top-quality, results-driven websites at incredibly affordable prices. Financing options are available. Visit digitalextremetech.com or call 267-205-4203. And for a discounted rate, make sure you tell them that War Room Sports sent you. Shout out to Digital Extreme Tech.
My birthday! Yay!
Birthdays. The first one is one Josh Hamilton, who turns 34. Stay clean, good brother.
No doubt.
Jamal McGlure, the all-star Jamal McGlure, turns 37.
I always think of that. Every time I hear his name, that's all I can think about is him being an all-star when his name is Jamal McGlure. Like, how'd that work?
The misunderstood Ricky Williams turns 38.
Don't stay clean, good brother. Do what you want.
Pretty much. Also, Packers and Eagles running back Dorsey Levens turns 49.
Dorsey, though, he was old as hell when he came to the Eagles.
He was like 6 months ago.
He was one of the oldest running backs ever.
Wait, that's a 49?
Yeah,
that can't be right. Yeah, that can't be right.
Somebody listen, tell us how old Dorsey Levens is, man. Like,
well, now I'm looking. I just looked him up. It says he's 45. That's still old.
Damn, Dorsey. Anyway, man.
He was born today, 1970.
One last birthday shout out. This is a rest in peace birthday shout out. The only Christopher we acknowledge is Wallace. So rest in peace shout out to one Christopher Notorious B.I.G. Wallace. Today has been his, I think his 43rd birthday. But, rest in peace. Rest in power, good brother. And those are the birthdays. We'd like to give a nice big warm salute to all these folks on their birthday.
What? It ain't no more to it.
All right, everybody. Y'all know the drill. You can check out our website at warroomsports.com. While you're there, be sure to sign up for the War Report. That's our company newsletter. Click on the Contact Us tab to send us a message about our company, our show, or to inquire about sponsorship and advertising opportunities, or joining our network. For general inquiries, email us, info@warroomsports.com. While you're browsing the site, click on the Memorabilia tab to buy War Room Sports merchandise. Click the Blog tab to read our latest articles in the All's Fair in Sports and War blog. Then click the respective icons and tabs to like our Facebook page, to follow us on Twitter, to subscribe to our iTunes podcast, to watch our webcast at War Room Sports TV, to listen to the WRS Podcast Network, and to download our free War Room Sports mobile app on Android and iOS to get everything I just mentioned on the go. Join the JW Philly Realty chat room right now during the show at blogtalkradio.com/The War Room. To enter the chat room, just sign up for a free profile on Blog Talk Radio. If you don't have one, or if you don't want one, you can sign in through your Facebook and Twitter accounts. And while you're at it, make sure you click follow so you can get updates and reminders about the show every week. We'll be taking questions and reading posts from Facebook, Twitter, and the chat room during the show right after Fred Perdue comes on to talk about the latest in college football. To call in and speak with us when he is done, dial the Digital Extreme Tech hotline, 323-410-0012. Press 1 when prompted. If you're already listening from your phone, just press 1 if you want to talk. So we're going to get into these hot topics, and those hot topics include Everett Golson transferring from Notre Dame to Florida State. And of course, we're going to have Fred Perdue of College Football Extra on to give us his thoughts on that whole thing. But before we do that, Jimmy's going to let everybody know who Hot Topics are brought to him by.
If your schedule is too hectic to read as much as you want, try audiobooks and kick back and let someone else do that reading for you. All you have to do is visit Audible and sign up for a free trial. Go to audibletrial.com/warroomsports. And that way you can get you a free audiobook to try out the service. If you want to keep it, it's totally up to you. There are several 100,000 audiobooks there. A lot of great sports books. One of the newest books I'm reading is called The Innovators, how a group of hackers and geniuses created the internet in the PC era. So it's a great book about the history of computing. But that's on Audible. Yeah, an Al Gore, pretty much an Al Gore. And you can actually get that free by going to audibletrial.com/warroomsports. And I'll say this, as long as we have them as a sponsor, the greatest audiobook of all time, Mike Tyson, you can also get that free. So what do you have to lose? Go get the Mike Tyson book for free. audibletrial.com/warroomsports. And real quick, before we move to Fred Perdue, shout out to @KCMac38 on Twitter, who says Dorsey Levens is indeed 45. He's verified that. I think he may have called Dorsey. And also, he says he wanted to give a birthday shout out to Bobby Cox, the manager from the Braves, that some would consider overrated considering the pitching staff he had. I didn't say it. I'm just saying what most people are saying. You know what I'm saying?
I consider him overrated because of his last name.
Shout out Casey Mack. Casey Mack. This is Dev. As a matter of fact, I'll be down in Dallas June 4th. So holla at me so we can get together.
Dev, is Bobby Cox overrated or no?
A lot of sustained success, but he didn't get what everybody's out there to get. He didn't get enough of them for his teams being as good as they were. So, I mean, I'm not going to call him that, but if somebody does, I'm not going to get up in all up in arms. I can understand the case they can make for Bobby Cox being underrated. Put it like that. I mean, overrated. So I'm going to cop out that way and say I can understand the case that they make.
Let's get the homie Fred Perdue on the line and talk about this Everett Golson transfer.
No doubt about it. Fred from collegefootballextra.com. Fred, what's going on, man?
What's going on, fellas? How y'all doing?
Pretty good, man. I know.
What up, Freddie?
Well, there was rumblings, before. I know I spoke to you about this before, but now that it's official, what are your thoughts on this whole thing? Everett Golson to Florida State. What's
if you
up?
Can't beat them, join them. If you really can't beat them, if you can't complete them, beat them. It's just Florida State is just they find a way to find a guy every time they need a guy to just fit in that spot. They had Christian Ponder, they had EJ Manuel. They find a guy at quarterback that fits what they like to do. They can run a myriad of offenses. They run everything from a traditional pro-style offense all the way down to a true spread offense, depending on the guy they have under center. Everett Golson isn't the typical under center quarterback that they like to have, but he's more than capable to be a stopgap. In his 5th year, you got to do something to graduate from Notre Dame, but to be beat out by a guy that hasn't really had any real experience as a passer, that really says a lot about how much they really like Malik Zaire, or how tired they are of Everett Golson and how long he's been in college football.
So do you think the addition of Golson makes Florida State the ACC favorite over Clemson?
Florida State was the ACC favorite over Clemson even after the day Jameis Winston left, and they find another highly rated class. Clemson, they have only really one hinging saving grace. That is Deshaun Watson, the upcoming sophomore quarterback. If he's healthy, they may have a chance because he's so dynamic. But Florida State is so much better than every other team in the Atlantic side of the ACC that it's not. It's like putting all-star group against a bunch of scrubs. Quite honestly, Clemson's not good enough. Even in their best years, they're still going to do what I call Clemsoning. They'll find a way to screw things up at the end and not win a game because they're still going to have to go through Florida State. NC State, they'll find a way to hang around and stay 7-5. Syracuse, who I'm still wondering why they unretired number 44, but go figure. They're not going to do much. Wake Forest, they'll scare Florida State every now and then, but Florida State is head and shoulders above everybody else. And we don't want to talk about Miami, North Carolina, Virginia, or Virginia Tech, who've all fallen off the face of the map since their the last few years. I mean, the only team I really see in the ACC that could compete with Florida State would be Georgia Tech with Justin Thomas at quarterback and that triple option. But even that offense is so limited that it really kind of gives me a little pause to say, nah, even Florida State at their worst, they could still dominate.
Well, speaking of Clemson, man, what about Sean McGuire and all this? And I bring him up with Clemson, obviously, because he beat Clemson while Jameis Winston was suspended for, doing what he did on the table. He appeared in 13 games as Winston's backup, and like I said, he got that. He led them to that big win over Clemson that a lot of people thought they might lose. So I'm hearing a lot of reports that it's going to be a battle for the starting job. Is that just lip service, or do you think they're just going to give this job? Do you think they're just going to give the job to Golson and Sean McGuire is just going to be short once again?
Seeing Sean McGuire from his high school days to now, you still haven't won the job. And granted, you went from being the third string guy who was really a placeholder for the next great high school phenom to being the backup by default. Jacob Coker leaving to go to Alabama. He's the odd man out. I mean, really, you don't bring in a guy like Everett Golson, who at best is still a upper tier quarterback in college football, to just let him sit on the bench. He'll learn the offense quite honestly. And Jimbo's the type of guy, he's going to keep the offense simple and bring Everett Golson along. They have Dalvin Cook in the backfield. They lost some guys up front on the offensive line, but I really like what they're going to be bringing back on the offensive side. And they have some good young receivers and Travis Rudolph, Ermon Lane, Javon Harrison, some of those guys out there, as well as you also have with Dalvin Cook in the backfield, that dynamic of being able to be not only a power runner but also a guy who might be on the smaller side, but he's lightning quick. And they brought in some other guys like Devontae Fields as a freshman, who's about 6'2", as a freshman receiver who may just have a chance at starting.
All right. Well, last thing I got for you, because you mentioned Ponder, Manuel, and of course Jameis Winston. Do you think playing in Fisher's offense for a year is going to get Everett Golson the attention from NFL scouts that he really didn't get while at Notre Dame?
Not likely. Even if Everett Golson was to come out if he would have been in this year's draft, he would have probably been at best maybe a 5th or 6th round pick kind of guy. He's a traditional college spread quarterback. He's that guy that he'd probably hang on a roster being a 3rd string kind of guy. Maybe he secures a backup job. Maybe he's a camp arm. But really and truly, he doesn't have the measurables. He doesn't have the measurables. He doesn't have the arm strength really at the NFL level to be an elite player, even a really good player. And when I say an elite player, we all know the Tom Brady's, Aaron Rodgers of the world, but he's not even Alex Smith arm strength type. He's more of along the lines of
Chad Pennington. Chad Pennington arm strength.
Yeah, something along those. He's not that big. He's a bit of a dual threat. He doesn't read the field very well. He's not that tall. All very bad attributes to have to be an NFL quarterback. But he'll be a nice camp
like high school QB.
He'll be a nice 5th or 6th round pick, and somebody will pick him up and try to develop him, and he'll be the scout team guy on a team that has a dual threat quarterback or somebody that can be an athletic. Really, he's more of a college quarterback than anything, but he's serviceable enough to be that stopgap for DeAndre Francois, who was their top quarterback recruit. Let him sit there and kind of be the red shirt guy. Let Sean McGuire be the backup if Sean McGuire has to come in. Let him take those hits. Let this guy learn. Sit there and let him do him like Jameis Winston. Let him sit there a year and just be in the coach's hip pocket. Jimbo is the quarterback coach, so really let him learn from Jimbo for a year and then just unleash him next year.
All right. Well, Fred just took 3 minutes saying in a really nice way that Everett Golson will have a future in flag football. Fred, tell everybody how they can get in touch with you, online, social media. Let them know.
You can visit collegefootballextra.com for all the latest news and notes. I got a nice little project coming up where we're going to be previewing every single team in Division I FBS. It's going to be a nice little project, and I think we're going to do it video style this year. I don't think we're going to be doing 1,000 words on every team. That's a little bit much this year, but we'll be doing it video style this year. You can reach me on Twitter at FPurdueSports or at CFB Extra on Twitter.
All right, get with us. We're promoted. Thanks for coming on, man. Appreciate it.
All right, guys. Thanks for having me on.
All right. All right, that's Fred Purdue, everybody. collegefootballextra.com. Let's move on to the NFL real quick because, after all of the talk and, how appalled the Patriots were at the penalties for Deflategate, Robert Kraft, Patriots owner, has decided that he won't appeal the Deflategate punishments. And before I hear you guys' thoughts on that, let me read you some of his quotes. He said, although I might, and remember how his tone was last week. It was, it was tough Tony. It was, he's going to, the lawsuits were coming and all of that. He said, although I might disagree what is decided, I do have respect for Commissioner Goodell and believe that he's doing what he perceives to be in the best interest of all 32 teams. So in that spirit, I don't want to continue the rhetoric that's gone on for the last 4 months. I'm going to accept reluctantly what he's given to us and not continue this dialogue and rhetoric. We won't appeal. He said, at no time should the agenda of one team outweigh the collective good of 32. Went on to say, I know a lot of Patriot fans are going to be disappointed in that decision, but I hope they trust my judgment, keywords, and know that I really feel at this point in time that taking this off the agenda is the best thing for the New England Patriots, our fans, and the NFL. Immediate thoughts when you heard this, fellas?
Oh, they worked the deal out. The deal is done. Kraft,
Tom Terrific will not be doing 4 games, if any.
Yeah, Kraft either spent a couple of dollars or he let Goodell know that he pulled those strings to put him where he is. So yeah, Tom is gonna something good is gonna happen for the Patriots.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of two things. If we we can lean towards the conspiracy theories of, okay, they probably made the Patriots a deal Tom Brady's suspension will probably get reduced to 2 games or 0 games. But the league has to save face, the tough punishment that they put out there, because all in all, $1 million is $1 million, even though, this is $1 billion franchise, most likely. $1 million is still $1 million, but I think the biggest hit to them is losing their quarterback, their Hall of Fame quarterback, for 4 games. So of course I'm going to think about the conspiracy theories and the opinion out there that a deal was possibly made. Now you could go that way, or you can go in another direction. Maybe Robert Kraft, since his franchise is a repeat offender, maybe he just wasn't getting the support that he may have needed to fight the NFL from the other owners, because, they usually stick together. But at the same time, you are cheating these people when you do the stuff that you do. So for me, it's one of 2 things. I lean probably more towards the conspiracy theory, but we'll see when Tom Brady's appeal goes through. We'll see the results of that, because if that gets reduced in any way, then everybody's going to be hollering conspiracy. Interesting.
Yo, I always lean towards conspiracy theory, especially with dealing with men of European descent. So the bottom line of this whole situation is, man, the paperwork makes the paperwork, man. So we'll see Brady very soon, and the whole thing was all for nothing. It was one big show.
Yeah. That's possibly the move. I mean, because his tone, Robert Kraft's tone, just drastically changed from last week. And it's not impossible for somebody to have some time away from their emotions and actually think about what's better for the franchise, maybe for the league, because what's good for the league is in his best interest. But they're cool. I mean, I think they were out to dinner, I think they were at some kind of event Saturday night, and he and Goodell shared a hug prior to departing. So probably was a nice conversation that went on that night. Ended in a hug, because a hug was probably the order of the day after he gave him the good news. So we're gonna see. We'll keep our eye on everything to see what happens with I guess in this situation, what happens with Tom Brady, because the organizational penalties are going to stick, and we'll see what happens in the Tom Brady appeal.
Also on Twitter,
we can cry foul after that.
On Twitter, Casey Mack said, it seems like Robert Kraft is distancing himself from Tom Brady. We got to think about that.
Fishy.
I've heard that angle as well. I mean, when it originally happened, Bill Belichick, he threw Tom Brady under the bus a little bit. I'm thinking that could possibly be the case, because in a situation like this, Tom Brady is taking the brunt of the hits anyway. Because just like I said myself, he can deny all he wants, but if anybody's doctoring up a football in any way, shape, or form, it's for the quarterbacks. Like, your linebackers aren't telling you to doctor up the football. They don't know if they're going to get their hands on the ball all night. So your linebacker's not going to, tell you to scrape the ball up or take the air out of the ball. So Tom is taking a hit. So he might be trying to distance himself. He's old. Garoppolo time.
I think the 3 of them got together and worked things out, and Tom agreed to quote unquote no homo fall on the sword.
Yeah.
And take one for the team. I think they're all in cahoots, and they know that Tom can rebound from the reputational risks and damages.
I don't think Tom Brady's falling on anybody's sword, though, because his appeal is still going. And George Atala, our homie from the NFL Players Association, made that perfectly clear on Twitter. As soon as Kraft made his statements, he said this in no way, affects our appeal for Tom Brady's suspension. So it could be more of what Casey Mack is saying. Like, he might be distancing themselves, like save face of the franchise, not save the face of the franchise and Tom Brady. So we'll see. We'll see. The NFL changed some rules this week, rules on the extra point. And here's what's going to be new. The extra point will now be kicked from the 15-yard line, which now makes it a 33-yard field goal. It was originally kicked from the 2-yard line, so it was always a chip shot, basically a routine play unless somebody could sneak through and get a block. 2-point conversions are still going to be from the 2-yard line, but the new rule will give the defense the ability to score 2 points on returns, and that's whether they're going for 1 or 2. If you get a block, an interception, a fumble, whatever, and you take it back to the house, the defense gets 2 points from that. So what do you guys think about this new rule with the extra points? I've heard a lot of mixed feelings on this.
I want to see it play out. Like I want to see, how this whole thing plays out. I think the extra point is kind of stupid to begin with anyway. Shout out to Scott Norwood. He doesn't think it's stupid, but overall, it's kind of stupid to me. So I did like the fact that they're trying something. I don't know whether this is the be all end all in terms of fixing that whole issue,
right?
If you consider it an issue, but I like the fact that they're trying something.
Well, gentlemen, they're thinking along the same lines as you also, because I heard this is kind of like a 1-year trial to kind of see what's going to happen. It does take away the quote unquote routineness of the extra point, because when you move it back to 33 yards,
in the game,
you got some teams like whoever is going to sign Alex Henry, like that's no longer an automatic for you, because I've seen dude miss several 30 to 35 yard field goals in his short career. So it does make it less of a routine play. You can't just score, in close situations. You can't just score a touchdown and automatically think like, all right, we tied this up. If you're going into the extra point down 1, the extra point is going to be serious now, and moving it back that many yards is going to give defenders extra time to try to get through the hole and get a block. So it's interesting. I don't know if I like it or dislike it. I don't know if I care that much, but I guess I'll be upset the first time the new rule works against my team. Then I'm gonna be bitching. But I'm like Jimmy. Like, it's good to see him trying to do something.
Yeah, I'm on deck with y'all. It's an attempt to make the game more exciting. Anytime the defense has an opportunity to score, I'm all with it. So, cool.
They're gonna make these kickers. They're gonna make these kickers earn their money these days. Especially kickers who play on teams that score a whole lot of touchdowns and they don't have to go out there and bang a whole lot of field goals. They're gonna have to earn their money a little bit more. This vote was decided. It was a 30-2 vote by the owners. So there was 2 owners in the league who wasn't really feeling it. Owners had considered a proposal by the New England Patriots for a plan that was similar to the one they adopted, but the Patriots plan didn't have the possibilities for defenses to score. The Philadelphia Eagles actually provided a proposal as well, which called for a 15-yard PAT and the ball on the 1-yard line for 2-point tries. So they were trying to move it closer for the 2-point conversion. So that didn't come to fruition either. The Washington professional football team also had a proposal, but it had nothing to do with PATs. They proposed to have all roster cuts done at once, moving from the 90-man roster to the 53-man roster prior to the start of the season. The owner said FOH. It's Washington. They usually, people usually tell them FOH. So we'll see how to point after how this affects teams this coming season. Let's move. Yeah.
Before we move on to our next topic, Dev, we do got a call on the line. Let's get to this call real quick before we move on to our next topic, because I know our next topic is something we definitely want to talk about.
Yes,
let's get the homie on the line calling from California. Rob, what's going on, Rob?
Robbo!
What's up, y'all, man? Yeah, we about to have a football team, man. Hopefully, man, soon. About to bring it back, man.
Shoot, y'all might have 2. Actually, they trying to get 2 out there. It went from 1 to 2. So we'll see about that. Most likely to be the Rams, though.
So, being that you root for the Eagles, are you changing your allegiance? You sound excited.
I'm not changing my allegiance. I just read an article that said that you know, it will bring more revenue towards the inner city if it's back in Inglewood
job,
where the
B.
Forum was.
Rob trying to get a gig, B. What you talking about? Yo, plus, I mean, if you have a team out there, then that's more chances that you're gonna be able to go see the Eagles one day when they come out there. So
Exactly.
It's a win-win.
I want to talk about a couple things. First and foremost, I think the Cavs is gonna sweep them because I just don't see any. I don't see anybody gone. I mean, that can just slow down LeBron. I just see a sweep. You know, with the Rockets, man.
LeBron slow himself down with all this isolation ball he playing, but that's another topic.
I mean, it's to me the coach is lame. The coach is not really coaching, but it's LeBron's team. You know, I think LeBron. They should just say Coach of the Year to after the finals because I think LeBron should get Coach of the Year because you know it's his team basically. If they win, if they go all the way. And also with the Rockets, man, it's gonna be a shootout. Shout out to Golden State. Shout out to the Bay Area. You know, it's gonna be a shootout. I want to ask Jimmy something.
They're gonna shoot the Rockets out the gym.
Yeah, they got more ammo than the Rockets do. The Rockets only got like James Harden and Josh Smith is good too, but Josh Smith is not Klay Thompson, and he's definitely ain't no Harrison Barnes. Harrison Barnes' game as a value has developed. Shout out to North Carolina's own Harrison Barnes. But I need to have Jimmy something. Jimmy.
I'm not gonna say that Josh Smith isn't a Harrison Barnes. I don't know if I'm gonna go that far. Actually, on his best, when he's playing at his best, Josh Smith, in my opinion, is head and shoulders better than Harrison Barnes. That's just my opinion.
Slow down. Yeah.
But admittedly, Josh Smith, it's difficult to get him consistently playing at his quote unquote best.
That's true. I was going, yo, Jimmy. Yo, what up, though? Well, Lakers got the number 2 pick. Yeah, what are your top 3 prospects you see going in the draft, and which one is your favorite? And then I'm gonna ask B Austin something. I want to get Jimmy's point of view right now.
Yo, you got Towns, you got Okafor, and you got everybody else.
You ain't impressed with the kid from Congo?
I ain't been to the Congo or China to see him play.
I haven't really got a chance to see him play the way I have the other gentlemen. Watching them this entire season and throughout the tournament, they were head and shoulders the best 2 players. So, you know, I'm not really sure with the kid from the Congo, but I mean, at the number 2 pick, you got to take whatever one. I kind of like the number 2 pick because the pressure's on the team in the first pick, right? You got to pick the right one.
Actually, Jim, the pressure is since there's 2 guys. You're right. The pressure's on the first pick and the third pick. So the pressure's on the Timberwolves and the Sixers because the Lakers can, you know, they're basically going to get out of the 2 big men. They get to take who's left. It's the Timberwolves' job to not blow it. Because if the Lakers pick the second guy and he's not that great, you're kind of like, well, they were left with no choice because
exactly. That's what I'm saying. There's no pressure right there. There's definitely no pressure right there. I read today that Okafor wants to be a Laker. That doesn't mean anything. That it doesn't mean that Minnesota won't take him. Minnesota's looking pretty now with that Kevin Love trade. They're looking real nice right now. With Zach LaVine, Andrew Wiggins, and potentially one of these 2 guys. I mean, you know, so we'll see what happens. But I like those 2 guys. I think they're head and shoulders better than everyone else. But now, you know, when you start talking about players that, you know, are coming from overseas or what have you, then I'm really at a disadvantage. I've seen the highlights. I've seen some of the tape and what some of the scouts have said, but I really can't give an honest opinion because I would be piggybacking on what they say. You know what I mean?
I feel you. It's hard. It's like when Brandon Jennings went overseas. I didn't know when he was gonna come back if he was gonna be just that player, and he's good. He's above average.
Yeah, but you know, some people say that he's not the same. Like he definitely is an above average guard. But I remember when he was coming out of high school, people were saying he could have went straight to the league.
Yeah, straight to the league. But look at the West. It's like, you know, Lakers, we need guards. Like, I mean, Jordan Clarkson, he played really good. I mean, Laker fans. Laker fans think like he's like the second. Not I should say second coming. He's gonna be like an all-star. I mean, but he did. You know, he needs to just develop a little bit more.
My thing is this though, Rob, and I've heard that before. But really, do you? If you have talent like down low like that, do you really need that strong of a guard? I mean, who the hell was Miami's guard? Now, granted, they had 3 great players, but remember we have Randall coming back off injury. Now we don't know what he's going to be like, but he's coming. He was a top 5 pick. You're talking about another top 2 pick. We still have money to spend. I don't know what's going to happen. No one seems to want to play with Bean.
Y'all can instantly have a nice young front court. You know, when Randall comes back and take one of these bigs.
You can get an average. Now I want to say average guard with someone who plays defense. You don't need one of these score first point guards. I mean, Chris Paul ain't won nothing, and he's considered the best guard in the league. So my point is this though. Kobe, this is Kobe's last year. And I honestly believe, and I hate to say this because Kobe is one of the greatest Lakers ever, that once Kobe leaves, the floodgates are going to open up. You're going to have a lot of these young guys that want to come play in L.A. So when you add young pieces like that, like say you get an Okafor and you have a Randall, I mean, in a year or two, you'll be right back in business.
Yeah.
I pray that they just.
For the record, I want the African. Give me Emmanuel.
All right, B, we ain't get to that yet. No, let him. We're not staring the kind. What did you want to ask B. Austin, yo?
No. I want B. Austin to finish.
Now we're gonna talk about the NBA draft lottery in a little while. So you had a question for him before we get you out of there?
What do you? I want to say something, but what do you think about Okafor? Because I remember you commented like, he stands out because Duke's team is not that very good offensively, which I agree. They just ran it through Okafor when they can, and he succeeded and dominated and acted fool, like missed a dunk. I remember one time tried to do like a windmill, but out of all these players, which gamers do you think that can develop? Like, what do you think of Okafor, and what do you like about the dude from Congo?
Okafor is going to be all right. He's going to be cool, man. But we're going to talk about it later, though. Definitely, Rob. We're going to get into it. Definitely going to get into it.
And I want to say RIP to all kickers out there because that extra point's gone. Yo, the season after, no more kickers. Go, train for soccer.
Damn, bro said no more kickers.
No,
they're
going
to get them out of the game. All right, Rod, thanks for your call, man. We appreciate it.
Peace, homie.
Peace. All right. Let's talk about the Allen documentary that aired on Showtime. You guys, everybody saw it, right? We know Jimmy saw it before the rest of us did.
Yeah, I sat there and watched it like it was a prize fight. Like I was waiting all day for it. And I'll give my opinion on it. I'll let you guys, Rock. I know you guys have just watched it recently, so I want to hear you guys' opinion on it.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, as I remember us talking about it on War Room Sports TV on Court Vision. And at that point, I hadn't seen it. So, I heard Jimmy's opinion on it. And one thing you said, I don't know if this is just, an Allen Iverson fan thing or if it's a Philadelphia resident thing. But we didn't learn anything new from the documentary. I think, a few people may have learned some new things, maybe like the context behind the whole practice rant that, they never tell you. They just play the clip, just like we just played a clip. We played a clip jokingly, you know what I'm saying? A lot of people play that clip seriously and they take real offense to the whole practice rant, as if Allen Iverson was saying F practice when that totally wasn't the case. I think for the general public, maybe they learned something about that and the context behind that, but I really didn't learn anything new about him. For me, it was just a trip down memory lane being a Philadelphia 76ers fan. I was around and kicking for the good times before that, back in the 80s. But looking back to the Allen Iverson era, that was more of my era because I was actually a young adult when all of that was happening. So it took me on a trip down memory lane, and it was nostalgic because all the good times that happened while he was here, that run in 2001 until we met up with Jimmy's Lakers and they crushed those dreams. But I heard people say that the documentary wasn't that well done. I don't have any complaints about that. I think the documentary was well done, but I think they still could have done more. Between every other documentary that's ever been done about Allen Iverson, it kind of seemed like she did just piece those stories together and just continue on those same narratives instead of giving us something new. But yeah, I think she probably could have added something new, but
let them dudes go first.
I'm such a big fan of AI as you gentlemen are. Like, it doesn't matter. I could have watched it anyway. I could watch it again and still have the same feeling. So I'm gonna step down because I'm taking everybody's points and then let y'all rock.
Go ahead, B.
Man. Yo, nostalgia isn't the word, man. I was watching that thing and I think that my bias and I'm not able to objectively analyze almost anything Allen Iverson related, because the older I get and the more I look back at that period in time of basketball, the more I realize how effing old I am, man. Like, yo, dude, I mean, I will always say that Michael Jordan is the best player in the world, but I think over the course of the last decade, there's been a shift to my favorite player possibly being Allen Iverson. And I don't argue with anyone that he's the best, the best player ever, even the best two guard ever, but my favorite because of the way he played the game, the heart, the soul, and more importantly, he is the young black male that grew up, born in the 70s, grew up in the 80s and 90s. Like, that's a piece of him is my story. I can relate. It's your story. It's my story. It's Jimmy's story. Like, he was us, good, bad, or indifferent. Like, there's no excuses that I'm making for the negative things that he did, or like he wasn't, there's no hero necessarily, no hero worship. Like, he definitely did some dumb nut stuff, but man, it was like looking at childhood and young adulthood, man. Like that was us. Like, our generation is represented in a lot of ways by Allen Iverson. His honesty, his candor, his ignorance, his love of hip hop, his representation of hip hop culture, his desire to be really a rebel with a cause, because I don't want people to get it twisted. He wasn't a rebel without a cause. Like, he definitely was for the people, about the people. He was of the people, and he was all about honesty and being genuine.
That's why they often give my man his eulogy right now.
Yeah, I mean, because it's over. It's that's the thing. It's over, but it's not over. And I think that he will find, as he moves on through, into life as a grown person, and he looks back, some of that stuff that he did, he's going to cringe at, but other things he has plenty to be proud of, because to make it from where he made it in bad news, basically raising himself and dependent upon the charity of other adults to get himself, they're like, yo, dude made it, man. He did.
Skyview just said in the chat room, he said, I have to give John Thompson props. He didn't have to give AI a shot, but he did. And that's definitely the truth, because John Thompson, Allen Iverson often credits John Thompson with saving his life. So, right, Jim.
Let me give my opinion before somebody else steals some more of my thunder. Pause. But watching the documentary, right? Initially, like I told you guys, I was so excited about it because him going on the press tour and talking, and also the highlights and the trailers. So they did a good job of selling it because I bought right into it. So I sat down and watched it. You really didn't learn anything new, like Dev said. A couple of funny moments was his white neighbor and his white neighbor, like his homie who was white, and his mom who talked about fried a bunch of chicken and fish.
She was racist and don't know that she racist.
As Roy said when it was on, Roy said, "Yo, she's too trill for this documentary." I agree. Shout out to Roy Burton for that one. The whole practice ran, like you said. And the one thing that I didn't know, and I'm a huge AI fan. I want to start by saying that. I am a Lakers fan, but I actually root for the Sixers. I don't like to say I have a second team because that's whack. But I do root for the Sixers because I like to have a parade where I see young women show their breasts. But with that being said, right, so I'm a huge
like
AI
2008 when the Phillies won. A lot of breast showing. It was like Mardi Gras in Philly.
Oh my God. Anyway, yeah, snap back into it. So the thing is, I thought I knew a lot about AI, but one thing I didn't know is I didn't know that the gentleman he always calls his father was his stepfather. Like I really just didn't know that. Like he always talks about, I had a father, my father was there, but I didn't know that wasn't his biological father.
Right. So he didn't know him at all, right?
Yeah, he didn't know him at all. But the thing about it is, Dev made a point that I was going to make, and he stole it. As I sit back, like when I got my Bobby Bonilla on to help my brother see the documentary, and I started watching it again, I realized it really wasn't that good. Like if I wasn't as big an AI fan as I am, the documentary really wouldn't have been that good because 30 for 30 did like the AI thing, and they stuck specifically to the trial portion of it. But that was a huge portion of this. But to be honest, I think
it's like we already saw that. Like do something different.
30 for 30 was done better. It's like you said, there's a couple AI documentaries. It's sort of like she was cutting and pasting. Like she just went to the MacBook, like I'm gonna take this from here and that from here. I got a whole new movie. You know what I mean? Like so, it wasn't that great, but it's hard for me to say that because of my bias, like B. Austin said. But the one thing I did want to say that Skyview just stole is one of my heroes, and it's cool to have heroes as long as they're not younger than you, because some of you guys like have heroes who are in the league now, and y'all like 45, and you're like, that's my hero, LeBron, my hero. That's weak. But it's okay to have heroes that are older than you, right? So coming up, I always admired John Thompson, and watching this made me admire him more. If you watch this documentary, as well as a documentary on the Big East that's on Netflix, and you see like what John Thompson is about, like what he stood for, and what he meant to so many like young African American men, you have to have nothing but admiration and respect for him. And quite admittedly, he did save AI's life. But you'll hear Patrick Ewing say the same thing, Alonzo Mourning, even down to some of the guys who don't become NBA superstars. So salute to John Thompson. So that was another thing I took from this documentary. But overall, Dev, it really wasn't that great. It's the fact that it's Bubba Chuck that we love it. If this was about like Vernon Maxwell, it probably wouldn't have had to wait.
Probably would have stopped watching halfway through. Yeah. So basically, you're saying it's, I don't even know if this is a word. It's biasly good, but it's not objectively. Good. Yeah, I just made that up. It's biasly good, but it's not objectively good.
I like that one.
Yeah. So I said, for me, more than learning anything, it was just a trip down memory lane because it was crazy. Like a lot of the actual footage, were things I was actually in the building for. So it was really nostalgic. Like they show footage of his little celebrity charity softball game when he was taking pictures with the kids and all that kind of stuff. Like that happens at the stadium that's right on the backside of my development. That's in Bowie. They showed the 2002 All-Star game the 2001 All-Star game in Washington, D.C. I was in the house to see that comeback led by Iverson, coached by Larry Brown on their way to the finals. And then once the playoffs started, I was like a little Sixers whore. Like I was at least one game in every series, was at 2 games in the Toronto series and flew to LA for a finals game to watch us get punked by Shaq and Kobe. But it was a great ride. Like, we hadn't had that since we were kids, so we couldn't enjoy it the same way. So even coming that close, with something different for the 76ers, and I was along for the ride, man. So I appreciate what that brought to the city.
that Dev was at a lot of those games.
I was a Sixers groupie. I was a groupie.
I'm gonna stop short of calling him a hero. To me, I had the opportunity to associate with he and Larry Hughes at the time several times, and we were all connoisseurs of botany and plant life. And so, being that we enjoyed tea and botany and plant life, there were some times where we could build over certain things, and that's why I kind of say he was a man of the people. So when I see AI, it's kind of like, dang, like he would hang with the homies, like he wasn't an unapproachable celebrity. Like he was just a regular dude, to the point where his Timberlands were dirty and scuffed and leaning over, and he had millions of dollars.
That was because he was from VA, but
but
once he was acclimated into the Philly lifestyle, he had to clean that up a little bit.
Yeah, he cleaned it up. He definitely cleaned it up. But we have one of our fellow brothers, War Room Sports Podcast Network, Nick, the mad scientist, wants to share a little bit of objectivity around Allen Iverson. So we want to bring Nick on and get his thoughts. Nick, you're in the War Room.
What's going on, bro?
I sat back and I listened to everybody pontificate so well about Allen Iverson and how very, very close people were calling him, calling to be a hero and stuff like that. As everybody knows, I'm a New York Knicks fan. Long time suffering, disgustingly suffering New York Knicks fan right now.
They're about to tell us the other side. He's about to give us the other side.
No, and watching Iverson at his craft, we had no choice but to be jealous to have a point guard of that magnitude. But the one thing that other people outside of Philadelphia would call Allen Iverson was the anti-hero. Now think about this for a second. You had Shaq, you had Kobe, you had all the superstars of that era, and people would consider them heroes.
The quote unquote good guys. Yeah. Exactly.
Iverson was the quote unquote bad guy. Iverson was the anti-hero. I mean, a lot of people had the misconception of quote unquote thug life when it came to Allen Iverson. Now we all know, we don't have to go through ad nauseum what happened when, in Virginia, the trial and all that stuff. But I can say this. I can say that you guys are exactly right. He was a man of the people of Philadelphia. He was a man that did not have to be pomp, circumstance, or anything like that. The people of Philadelphia and fans of Iverson can relate to someone like him. Mm-hmm. The other thing that got me with the documentary, you guys talked about John Thompson. Now, John Thompson does not get enough credit. To me, John Thompson should be up in the same echelon as Dean Smith. You hear the basketball players, Jordan, McAdoo, Perkins, Worthy, the whole lot of them. I mean, the list can go on and on. Speak in reverence of Dean Smith. And because Dean Smith just passed away, it was magnified tenfold.
Right.
But watching this documentary, and you saw what John Thompson did for Allen Iverson in the 2 years that he was there in Georgetown, how he kind of, I'm not going to say fully, but he kind of, grounded him to make sure that he would be somewhat on the straight and narrow while in school. And yet people seem to forget about Patrick Ewing, Alonzo Mourning, Freddie Brown, Michael Williams, all these great Georgetown players that came through the years, and they speak about Thompson in the same reverence as those guys that speak about Dean Smith. Right. To me, John Thompson has to be on that same magnitude. And it was brought out very well in this documentary. Overall, I thought the documentary was okay. It was nice. It was fluffy. It was what we
No, it was whack.
expected it to be.
It was whack. I'm just
No, I'm trying to be nice here. It was what people expected it to be. But in the end, it definitely wasn't like a 30 for 30. Not even close. I'm sorry, but the documentary could not shine the shoes of anything that 30 for 30 puts out there. But it was a good story. And being a long-suffering, disgustingly bad Knicks fan that I am, you know, watching the highlights and everything like that, and gnawing my teeth, knowing what might have been if we had some sort of like leadership in the front office and everything like that towards the end of the Patrick Ewing era. It made me jealous that, Philadelphia, was a hotbed, for sports because of a guy like Allen Iverson and Larry Hughes and that team that made it to the finals. Nobody gave them a snowball's chance in hell.
Scrappy team.
And it was those 5 games though, everybody was pulling for Philadelphia. And when they stole that one game, because Iverson had probably one of the greatest games of our generation, everybody thought, could he do it by himself? I'll even go out and say it like this. Iverson was LeBron before there was LeBron. The correlation being that Philadelphia team, and you guys can probably back me up on this, had no business going all the way to the finals that year.
Oh, no.
Iverson put him on his back.
None whatsoever.
Oh, no.
Wasn't that the same year? That was the same year Milwaukee had that deep, nice dude. Wasn't it Milwaukee that had a great team that year?
Yeah, because they went 7 with Milwaukee in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Milwaukee was supposed to be.
I was at Game 7.
Yeah,
in the Milwaukee series. So yeah, it was. Yeah, Milwaukee had Sam Cassell, Ray Allen, and Glenn Big Dog Robinson, who pushed off on every jump shot, but they made them all, and they were a really difficult team to beat. And Iverson didn't even play in every game in that series, so they kind of threw a game or two to the Bucks in that series.
But to watch that final and to see that, even though it was only a 5-game series, how close that series really was.
Yeah, people forget that all the games, except for maybe the last one, when their spirit was broken, people forget that at least 3 of those games came down to big shots at the end of games. Like you had, Fisher making a big shot, you had Brian Shaw making a big shot, you had Ori making a big shot at one point. Yeah, those were really competitive games, but in the end, Shaq was too much for Dikembe. God bless his chin, because Shaq was elbowing him all around his face. But yeah, I'm glad somebody that's not in a position of bias remembers that it wasn't as bad as the series count will tell you. It was 5 games, but they didn't just lay down to the Lakers as the Spurs did in the round before.
It was because when you think about like final series and people laying down and stuff like that. I mean, we could talk about like the New Jersey Nets. We could talk about the former New Jersey Nets. We could talk about other teams that pretty much like the Cleveland Cavaliers when they faced the Spurs. That it was a mismatch of epic proportions. LeBron be damned, or when everything like that. But, people have tunnel vision, and they see, it was a 5-game series. It had to be a blowout. There was the token game that they won, yada, yada, yada. When you're – okay, I'm 43 years old. I'm right there with you guys. I have a pretty damn good memory when it comes to, like, major sporting events and stuff like that. I remember that final series. I remember how close it was. Yes, Game 5 was disgustingly bad because Philadelphia pretty much didn't even want to be there anymore for Game 5 because their spirit was irrevocably broken after what happened in Games 3 and 4. And, but for that team, that city was galvanized that year. because of AI.
Right.
I don't
And-
think we'll
and-
ever
and Nick-
see another story like that again.
Right. And not only was the team just not, as talented as the Lakers, they were nowhere near as talented as the Lakers. They all went into they played through the playoffs injured. Like Eric Snow and Aaron McKee both had like stress fractures in their ankles that they played with throughout the finals. George Lynch was hurt throughout most of the playoffs, tried to come back in the finals, wasn't as effective as he had been throughout the season. So yeah, I mean they just weren't full strength, and if you look at the roster, they had a bunch of no names in the first place. So that has to be one of the greatest
Jermaine Jones and Rodney Buford.
Yeah, like that year for Allen Iverson, that was one of the greater performances, especially from a guy of his stature. I mean, he could never. He could never. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, B.
No, I was going to say, Nick, we appreciate you calling in. Sorry, Dev, I want you to finish your thought, but before we get the mad scientists out of here, let everybody know when they can catch you, one of the greatest shows on the War Room Sports Podcast Network, and basically do your commercial.
Well, I wouldn't consider myself one of the greatest shows on the network. I'm just one of the shows on the network, with the talent that's surrounded on War Room Sports. I'm just a little like dot in the ocean, as they would say. But thank you so much for the kind words. Just to let everybody know, my name is Nick Ficcarelli. I am the Mad Scientist of Sports. People can catch me every Saturday night, 10 p.m. on Blog Talk Radio for my 2-hour show, The Mad Scientist Sports Lab. If you really want to listen to a good show, I would highly advise everybody to listen to last week's show, especially from the second half hour, when I had a certain someone on my show, some guy by the name of McDermott or McStevens, McMillan, that's right. Devin McMillan was on my show last week.
We got to talk some
And
basketball
when
last week.
we spoke some NBA playoffs. It was one of the best 30 minutes that you can ever listen to. And the riff that was going back and forth was like pretty seamless. And it was a really good time. And, guys like Devin, B. Austin, Jimmy and you guys, Brandon and the rest of Chris Dinkins, the rest of you guys, it's a great family to be a part of. And I got to tell you, it's only onward and upward from here. And to be on the War Room Sports Podcast, it's always like icing on the cake for me during the week and stuff like that. So thank you guys for allowing me the time. And I don't want to bore you guys anymore because I know you only got a few minutes left. So have a good night, and I'll talk to you guys in the not too distant future.
All right, you too, Nick. And we'll definitely get you on sometime soon to co-host with us as well. So everybody stay tuned for that.
If you guys have that, you better bring the tissues with you because I'll have you dying laughing by the time this whole thing is over. Because as everybody knows, I like to bring a tinge of sarcasm to my show sometimes. So, and it's always a lot of fun. So whenever you guys, but it would be a high honor to co-host the show one night.
We look forward to it. Then everybody look out for that. It'll be soon. Probably in the next 2 weeks if we can get you scheduled. So we'll talk to you about that. All right, that was Nick Ficcarelli, the Mad Scientist of Sports. Everybody, make sure you check out his show on the War Room Sports Podcast Network. So that was, like we said, great topic. Maybe not that great of a documentary. Jimmy, as he put it, she may have copied and pasted from some other Allen Iverson work that has been done in the past. But when he's the subject, you can't really go wrong around a bunch of Philly guys. So before we move on to some NBA talk, let's just give you guys our stat of the week. And our stat of the week is about the NBA playoffs, about the NBA conference finals, and it's merely the length and years that some of the teams that are participating in the conference finals, it's been a long time since some of these teams have been here. The Golden State Warriors have not reached a conference finals since the 1975-76 season. What's that, about 39 years ago? And the Atlanta Hawks have never made the conference finals while they've had this conference finals format, while they've had two conferences. Back in 69 and 70, they made the Western Division Finals, and that's when the NBA had two divisions, and I believe they had 8 teams in each division. They made the division, the Western Division Finals those 2 years, and they may have been put out by your Lakers, Jimmy, back in those days. The current conference format started in 1970-71, so this is Golden State's first ever trip to the conference finals with the current NBA conference format. So shout out to those teams.
You meant the Hawks. You say Golden State there. This is the Hawks.
I'm sorry. Yeah, the Hawks. I'm sorry. So shout out to the Warriors and the Hawks. Hopefully, for their fans' sake, they make the best out of this rare trip to the conference finals, and possibly, much to Jimmy's chagrin, maybe we'll see a Warriors versus Hawks in the finals. Jimmy thinks the Hawks are so boring.
I definitely hate the Hawks, and I know B. Austin doesn't want Atlanta to prosper in anything at this moment. So, but here's my thing, though, Dev. It's interesting because even with Cleveland, like let's just say Cleveland thing, it's going to be good just for the league and the NBA in general because, I mean, people forget because LeBron came back, but they're still Cleveland. They haven't won anything in life, like
Right.
So that would still be amazing for that city.
LeBron has definitely lost. He's lost quite a bit with them at that level. So when compared to some of the other greats who got into the finals and got busy, he's one of the greats that has managed to get there quite a bit. But also FUBAR, attempts.
Jim,
with like 5 titles, haven't been to the finals like 15 times though.
We still don't have our gunshot soundbite because B. Austin he always firing shots, man. We got to get that soundbite.
Firing shots here. Well, I'm just quoting it. I'm letting the people understand the context and the truth around the matter, man. I mean, listen, JR. The bottom line is J.R. Smith is going to lead the Cavs. Kyrie is going to go up and play through injury, and then you're going to have my man Matrix coming off the bench, and Tristan Thompson gets all rebounds. He gets bored.
Oh, I ain't seen the Matrix in like a month.
Atlanta got to go home. Yo,
Thompson
Jimmy,
has gotten his
hold on.
opportunity and has made the most of it.
Atlanta got to
fellas,
go home, and it ain't got nothing to do with the squad, man.
We're gonna continue this right after this quick word. And Jimmy has to let everybody know who the sponsor is for this NBA wrap. But before he does that, you guys can check out our website at warroomsports.com to call in and speak with us about any of today's topics. Make sure you dial the Digital Extreme Technologies hotline at 323-410-0012. Press 1 when prompted. And if you're already listening from a telephone, just make sure you press 1 if you want to talk.
Hi, Peter King with the MMQB here, and you're listening to The War Room at the War Room Sports Podcast Network.
Absolutely. It's time to talk about the NBA, gentlemen. And the NBA Wrap is brought to you by Fanatics for the best in your favorite team's merchandise and apparel. Shop Fanatics. Shopping Fanatics is easy. Go to our website, warroomsports.com, and click on that Fanatics logo and buy all kinds of merchandise. Be on the lookout because Fanatics and us are enjoying our relationship, and we're about to release a lot of new great things through Fanatics. So always check warroomsports.com and look for that Fanatics logo. It's time to talk basketball, gentlemen.
And we're also going to be bringing you guys that Fanatics stuff in different ways. So check our social media in the coming weeks as well.
Yeah, that too. What he said. Now. Basketball. The one point I was just going to make, Dev, before we move forward, talk about Doc Rivers, is the fact that regardless of who wins the championships, it's going to be amazing for these 4 cities. Because even with Houston, they haven't sniffed anything since the Dream went. Dream did his thing. So that's the one thing exciting about this playoffs is it's going to be amazing for one of these cities because it's not. I think this is the first time they said in like 20 years that you'll have a final without Kobe, Duncan, or Wade. How about that?
A lot of sports fans still give that Houston team, they give that credit to Michael Jordan. They give it to give him the credit for retiring.
Yeah, they definitely
I would have
did.
loved to see those two teams go at it, though. I think they would have had a chance against you.
I definitely think Houston would have made. See, people don't realize this. Like, if you go back and look at those days, Houston used to be the one team to kick the Bulls' arse every time they played. But what happened was when the Bulls would get to the finals, Houston was never able to make it there. Like, certain teams
before they got there.
Well, Houston couldn't beat Portland, right? So Houston couldn't beat Portland for some reason, but the Bulls couldn't beat Houston. Like, when they were playing the regular season, Hakeem would give them everything. But the Houston had a hard time playing Portland, but the Bulls could beat Portland. So it was just one of those things. Because if you notice, when Houston made their run, they made their run not having to face Portland because Portland used to own them. But that's just giving a little context because everybody just looks at what happens and forgets those little things. But, that would have been interesting nonetheless. Moving on, though. Doc Rivers. I don't know if you guys saw Jamie Foxx imitate Doc Rivers on Jimmy Fallon.
But that was hilarious.
Hilarious. But Doc Rivers, he basically took a poo-poo on his whole roster.
It's not just Blake. It's Blake.
He was up 3-1, and they lost the series, rather. And basically, he blamed it on his roster and talked about how funny it was even looking at the roster when he took the job. Like, yo, you're GM, though, B. What's wrong with you?
I think I got his quotes. Yeah, he was speaking to the USA Today after his team choked away the 3-1 series lead and lost Game 7. He said, should I do this in a Doc voice? He said, I want to fix it. I want to win. That's why I came here. I knew when I came here that the roster-wise, it was going to be very difficult. First thing I did before I took this job, I looked at the roster and we laughed. I was like, what the beep can we do with this? It was more the contracts, but we have to try it somehow. I don't know how yet, but something will work out. That's my Doc Rivers. It's kind of crazy to hear him say that, like talking about he looked at the roster and he laughed. Doc Rivers inherited a 56-win team. They won the most games up to that point in Clipper history the year before he took over the team. So it kind of sounds like Doc has a little bit of revisionist history because he's trying to make excuses for them not being able to get it done. We do talk about their bench a lot, but what their bench is right now, that has a lot to do with Doc Rivers because Doc Rivers is the general manager. When he got there, they still had Eric Bledsoe. They had some guys where, let's say if the team stayed the same, the bench would be a little bit deeper right now. So he comes in, they have a roster of good starting players and a pretty good bench with the six-man, the perennial six-man of the year winner. And he's talking about how he laughed at the roster. Like, come on, man. 3 of your guys just made all NBA teams. and 2 of your guys just made all NBA defensive teams. So miss me with the laughing at the roster and what can we do and woe is me stuff. The Clippers are one of the most talented teams in the league. And, though they can't go that deep on the bench right now, I mean, we still know the impact that individual players have on a basketball team in a basketball season. So this sounds like Doc Rivers is tripping a little bit to me, man.
I think the best point you made is what they have now is kind of his fault because they didn't have Eric Bledsoe. They also had what's the boy's name? Other boy they had on their team. They had a couple guys they traded.
They had Caron Butler.
Butler.
Remember, they had Jared Dudley. They had Jared Dudley, Caron Butler, and Eric Bledsoe coming off. Come on, Doc.
That's what I was thinking of. Jared.
Yo, can I just share something about Doc? I like Doc as a coach. I like
think he's overrated.
But
always
come
have.
on, man, stop stealing my I think a lot of the basis of his of the support he gets is based on his persona. He has a nice guy persona. He can draw up some nice plays coming out of timeouts. He's not a bad coach. He's a good coach, but he is definitely nowhere near as good as the acclaim he gets. And then as far as him I don't. Is he listed as the GM there, or does he have GM duties? I don't think he. When you factor that in,
He does.
you factor that in,
he asked for all the
drops his
power.
value.
He has all the
That drops him. Yeah, that drops him even more. I mean, as a coach, I think he's good. As a GM, I think he's, the spark when you started, but now you're just garbage. So,
Yo, my thing is, he traded.
I don't think he had a spark when he started.
He traded Jared Dudley for his boy. Literally.
Yo, this is what he's done. He claims he laughed at the roster. So this is what he did when he came in with this laughable roster. All right, he orchestrated a 3-team trade that brought him Jared Dudley and JJ Redick in exchange for Caron Butler, Eric Bledsoe, and a future 2nd-round pick. I don't think they got the best out of that because I'd take Eric Bledsoe and Caron Butler over Jared Dudley and JJ Redick, any day of the week. But then he sent Jared Dudley and a 1st-round pick to Milwaukee. And they said this was a salary dump, which was necessitated by the offseason signings of Spencer Hawes and Jordan Farmar. Jordan Farmar is not even on the team anymore. He was released back in like January. JJ Redick has he's been what he was supposed to be, but I think the roster was a bit stronger when he got there, when he said that he was laughing at it. So I don't really get where he's coming from in that whole mix. Bledsoe ended up getting a diesel contract. So, I mean, I don't know if the Clippers would have been able to keep him for the money that he was obviously able to demand. I don't know why he got the money that he got. He's good, but I don't think he's max contract good, or anywhere near max contract good. But I don't know, Doc. You lost me with this one, dude.
But this just goes to show you that how important like winning and championships are, because the fact that he has that one championship is kind of giving him carte blanche to like anything and everything that he wants to do for the rest of his career. I'm telling you, yo, that's just what it is. Yo, it's my Brett Favre theory. Like, you win one championship and you can stink up the rest of your career, but it doesn't matter.
Dude, yo, remember prior to that championship, Doc was like a 500 coach in Orlando. He went to the Celtics and was damn near on the precipice of losing his job before they ended up getting KG and Ray Allen to play alongside of Paul Pierce, which created the big three that ended up winning one championship. They kind of got that Detroit Pistons swagger. We've been here before. We do this, but they got one chip out of it.
All that matters. I've literally seen dudes on
he was
Facebook.
about to get fired though in Boston. That's the thing.
I've seen dudes on the Facebook, right? When Miami had lost that finals, the first year, and I believe that was to Dallas or whatever. They were blaming Coach Spoelstra. I've seen those same people now say that Spoelstra is a top 5 coach in the league. Forget the fact that he has, he had uber talent when he won, but the fact of the matter is he won a championship. People hold championship in such a high regard when talking about sports, and it's not just the novice. It's some of these people who cover the sports, and I understand.
Yeah, because they're the ones who set that narrative and pass it down to the novices.
Yeah, pretty much. So the thing is though, Doc Rivers kind of has carte blanche right now to, run that team in the ground, do whatever he wants because he has one championship. So that's just, and the thing is, he'll get 10 jobs.
One chip that he almost wasn't around for. got lucky.
There you go, but that's what it is though. So Doc Rivers is bugging. That's one of the top stories in the NBA. The draft lottery. We talked a little bit about this, but and I brought up the fact that the Timberwolves are looking very pretty right now in terms of building that organization. Let me hear your gentlemen's thoughts on the Timberwolves winning the draft lottery, and what do you see for them in the future?
Young talent galore, with KG there for another year or so to bully players into playing better. The Timberwolves have a promising future. If they they're gonna get one of those two bigs unless they, do something silly. If whoever they picks turns out to be what they expected, Like the Western Conference is going to have to watch out for this team in the coming years because they're young, but once they start to put it together, maybe get some good veterans in that mix to kind of mentor all of this young athletic talent that they have. Timberwolves are going to be something to reckon with. But like you guys said earlier, Jim. Oh, go ahead, B. I'm sorry.
No, I agree completely. I don't even have much to add to that. That's maybe can Zach LaVine play the one, but even that isn't that huge of a deal. I mean,
right?
Can he back up the one? I mean, you got Rubio there, right? So, I mean, they're real talented.
Yeah, scary talented. Scary.
Kevin Garnett going to be positive, or is he going to give them?
They got the last two number one picks.
Or is he going to give them? Is Kevin Garnett going to be a positive, or is he going to rub his fake pseudo tough guy off on him?
I'm sure. I mean, we heard the stories when he first got there. I'm pretty sure the guy's like probably on pins and needles when he's around sometimes, but the intensity that Kevin Garnett has always brought to the game. I mean, you could say one thing about KG sticking around too long and young people not really knowing what he was to this league because all they've seen is Kevin Garnett in the past 3 or 4 years. The intensity that he's always brought to the game and what he's demanded of his teammates, I think that could rub off on those guys and be a positive because they have the athletic ability. He's going to bring like the seriousness to the equation, and they're not going to want to let him down. You know what I'm saying? He's that old guy, that old legend in your locker room that you're not going to want to let down. So it's probably going to be less playfulness going on a team of guys this young because they're scared to let the captain down. So I think it could be a positive. I mean, but he could also rub those dudes the wrong way. So.
Or add to this is anything's possible.
Anything's possible. Yo, if they can get to the playoffs and let KG rest and then he give them strong 20 playoff games would mean they in the finals, but
anything's possible. Listen though, but who do you guys have in terms of this draft outside of the Timberwolves? Like, what are the top 5 players you guys see coming out in this draft?
Definitely the 2 bigs, and then you got the 2 guards, D'Angelo Russell and the one everybody's talking about, Moutier.
Emmanuel Moutier.
Then maybe like Justice Winslow from Duke. I don't know. He could be up in that top 5 mix.
I gave you guys my opinion.
You could have a dude from Latvia in the top 5 mix. Kristaps Porzingis. You could have Frank Kaminsky somewhere around there. So I think the top 4 are set. I think that 5th one, Jim, you probably got about maybe 2 or 3 people that can be in that 5th spot.
My man,
the way I look at it before you go be Austin is you got the 2 bigs and everybody else with an asterisk by D'Angelo Russell because I think he has a tremendous upside, also downside. So I can see his career going 1 or 2 ways, but those 2 bigs though are head and shoulders in my opinion right now based upon what I've seen best players in this draft.
Yeah. So really the team that I wouldn't want to be, Jim, is the Orlando Magic picking at 5 because I think the top 4 might be set.
Yeah.
5. Yeah, they're gonna get stuck. They're gonna end up with Justice Winslow and his afro and his effort and his dumb plays and his athleticism. Karl Towns is definitely my number 1. Jahlil Okafor is probably my number 2. Emmanuel Moutier from the Congo is my number 3.
So is that who you want? Maybe since you're a Sixers fan and they're picking at number 3, is that who you want them to get? Okay.
Yes, I would. If for some reason somehow he's not there, which would mean he would be going 1 and 2, which isn't probably impossible. I'm not mad at D'Angelo Russell. I think D'Angelo Russell will be a very good guard. I see him as a fringe all-star, like maybe, but a quality NBA player. Emmanuel Moutier. has the potential to be something special athletically. He's off the charts. Now, can he shoot
I
a
haven't
basketball?
seen much of him, but they said he's cut out of that Russell Westbrook mold. You agree with that?
Yo, he's an African, man. Like them jeans, yo. Yo, Russell Westbrook. When my man who plays running back for the Seattle Seahawks said, shout out to all my real Africans, he was talking to Russell Westbrook, and he was definitely talking to Emmanuel Mudiay. Definitely.
In the face!
Yo,
yeah.
Listen, we got about 10 minutes, so we definitely want to get into these series. You know, the Final Four: Cleveland and the Hawks, the Rockets and the Warriors.
Wait, hold on, real quick. Jimmy, you didn't allow me to get to my man Willie Cauley Stein, and the name
him in the top 5. Trilla,
no, you're right.
I didn't mean to call him a bum.
Listen,
Will
Cleveland. Last time we were on air, Cleveland was playing that Game 6 against Chicago. Cleveland handled their business. So real quick, for a couple minutes, I just want to hear what Tobias has to say about his Chicago Bulls selling the farm and how his team
He's
is
still
like,
here. He didn't jump off the bridge.
Hey, I told y'all we were losing that game. I told you guys that. What's the problem? All
I
right.
didn't even show up for that game.
Hey,
Hey, I left.
Before the series, you were calling out the Cavaliers, talking about bring it, and y'all was going to do X, Y, Z, and all that.
You didn't really want that.
Hey, and that was until, Joe Kim Noah couldn't hit the backboard he was trying. Nikola Mirotic thinking, one of those old Yugoslavian dictators came back into power. Todd Gibson taking 10 seconds to gather before he jumps. Derrick Rose still don't want to take it to the hole half the time. And Jimmy Butler played his butt off. You got to give him credit. But the one issue I have with this team is, dude, you got to go a little faster on offense. You cannot be trying to run the shot clock down, running a BS set against a team that LeBron is hurt. Well, let's be honest, LeBron gets shot in the chest and he won't miss any time. Let's just be honest. Kyrie's a mess.
LeBron is a Terminator.
That's what I'm saying. Kyrie's a mess physically. Kevin Love's hurt, and I think Cleveland's still going to rue the day they traded Wiggins because you don't give up superstar talent on a rookie deal. I'm sorry. And that team had all these injuries. J.R. Smith missed 2 games, and they still lost. And so they talk about getting rid of Thibodeau and hiring Fred Hoiberg. Good luck with that. But
man,
I'm like, dude. But it's to me, it's like I just believe part of it is Derrick Rose has to become more aggressive. Stop jacking up threes because if he goes to the hole, it opens up so much more. And Jimmy Butler, to me, he's their best offensive option. To be honest with you, but they also need some wings to help him out because there's no reason he should have been going against LeBron 48 minutes and nobody else could get 5 minutes. That's just my thing.
Yeah.
All right, so before we get you out of here, let me ask you a question. What's your prediction? Who's going to meet in the finals?
I think it's going to be the Cleveland Cavaliers versus Team Light Skin, and Team Light Skin is going to smoke them. I'm sorry. Hey, when y'all watch the Hawks, that's the problem with them. Who's taking these shots for them when they need a basket? Jeff Teague looks about a loss as Freddy from Scooby-Doo when he's driving a mystery van.
Hold on, let's ask Devin. Because Dev has really been working on this. Yo, what's wrong with Teague? What's wrong with Ing?
Yeah. Because when you look at the situation, Teague is probably their most talented player. Teague has an aggression deficiency, I think, because when he is aggressive, it works for him. But a lot of times they either have to play Schroeder or pair Schroeder up with Teague in late game situations and let him handle the ball because he frankly makes more happen. Like Schroeder goes to the rack, draws other defenders and either kicks out or goes all the way to the hole, gets a bucket, or he just pushes the action on the other team more than Teague, in my opinion, and makes stuff happen. That's why he's getting those late game minutes. It's not necessarily over Teague, because either way you have to have Teague in the game. He's just that talented. But it's a situation, man. Like he has to get more aggressive.
Some of them shots at the end of the game were making me angry because I like to see aggression, and I like to see guys put aggression out there against Cleveland, just like I like to see him do it against Miami. Y'all know the reason. But Teague looked confused. He looked confused. Like, what was wrong with him? What was wrong with? Why was he double pump, faking clutch, lean to the right,
in the lane,
all forward,
in the lane, double pump, pivot, look around.
Yeah, I mean, he's the reason that you keep slandering somebody else. Like, Teague is worse than that. Teague is not about that life. You see, when Demolition Man comes in, who's not as talented, it's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah. District 9 be balling, yo. District 9 be getting it in. Schroeder come in like
Schroeder from the Congo.
Talking about these playoffs, bro. Thanks for the call, though. We appreciate it.
All right, man.
guys.
Take it easy.
Goodbye.
Hey, Jim, District 9 be coming in on his Jimmy Butler. I'm the captain now. He be coming in on that tip too. Like, I'm the captain.
Yeah, he's coming for Teague job, and Teague has more.
He actually
talent,
looked more like he looked more like the bull.
Hey, why was Kyle Korver an All-Star?
Did you see?
Shout out to him
because he wasn't playing against playoff defense all season.
Did you see what he did when LeBron came down the middle of the lane, though?
Yo, he got out of dodge.
He waved at him. He waved at him and touched his wrist.
Yo, he said, "What up, LeBron?"
Yo, he got out of dodge. Like, he got out of there like Billy the Kid and the Young Guns came to town. And
I was trying to explain to people why Kyle Korver can't be an All-Star. Like, I was trying to explain this to
Before we go to the other series, though, I just want to hear you guys comment on J.R. Smith. First of all, the game he had. After the game,
I already told you. Shout out to Earl. My
man Earl said the best shot is when somebody guarding you. It ain't fun to him to play basketball and shoot open shots.
Yo, J.R. Swish is balling, man. 8 threes, Cleveland Cavaliers playoff record. He's balling. You're still waiting for that 3 for 20 to come, but it hasn't come. So he's playing really well. He's playing more disciplined, and he gives a lot of that credit to LeBron. But LeBron is playing with less discipline than we're used to seeing him.
It's like they switched and whatnot.
Yeah,
right
like LeBron is dribbling down the shot clock. Yo, they said like 30+% of his possessions are 7 dribbles or more. And he's either taking bad shots at the end of shot clock or he's giving it up to a teammate with nothing left to do, with no time left on the shot clock. LeBron is not playing.
And we all know why he's giving the shots up.
Well, here's the thing. I think it's the pressure. I think he's finally at that point with Cleveland, and it's the pressure of getting over that hump with Cleveland. But we'll talk about that later on.
Cleveland in 6. Cleveland in 6 for me.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
and
JR. We have to talk about the Warriors and Rockets real fast. Shout out to Steph Curry, did his thing, and brought his daughter to the press conference. She stole the show, and a lot of the haters are trying to ban kids now.
Yo, Brian Windhorst, FOH. Because if LeBron would have done that, you would have offered to babysit his kids up at the podium while the pressure was going on. So FOH with all that.
Under the table.
While rubbing LeBron's knees. Noodle.
But I had the Warriors winning the series. They're just too deep of a team. They got
Warriors in 6.
Get foul calls because you can see their skin turn pink, so they get more foul calls and So I got
Dwight Howard can't stay off the injured list. Like, come on, Dwight.
He's not in. He's not injured.
These playoffs have been marred by injuries. Shout out to DeMar Carroll acting like he got shot in his knee and it ain't even no structural damage.
James Harden don't care that he injured. And I just want to say the last thing before we let B. Austin finish up is that James Harden, I want to send a salute to you because you have the ability to score 30 points a game and only make 4 shots because somehow you get to the foul line a gazillion per game.
That traveling ass Euro stat, people be hacking him.
salute to the DeBarge brothers. Because New Jack Swing is definitely back, and Christopher Williams and them is definitely going to win this series.
Don't wake me.
Why are y'all giving Dwight the injury excuse? That is not injured. He's not injured. He's not hurt. I promise y'all he's not. He's not injured. He's not hurt. Yeah, he's not hurt.
His pride is hurt.
And my man James
DeMarre Carroll, like he got shot in his kneecap. I just thought it was a hyperextension the way it looked.
We gotta get
I
out
thought
of here.
they was bringing the wheelchair.
We gotta get out of here. But who y'all got the game tonight? Y'all got the Warriors or the Rockets in tonight's game?
Warriors come out.
How about you, B. Austin?
The Warriors come out and play.
Don't hate me, I'm dreaming. All right, it's time to get out of here. Thanks for joining us in the War Room, good people. Shout out to everybody in the chat room, Facebook, Twitter, all the calls who chimed in to holler at us. We definitely appreciate it. Those we didn't get to, we apologize. Special thanks to Fred Perdue for joining us to talk a little college football. Tune in next week, same time, same place, or on demand, WRS Podcast Network, and you can hear us talk our ish. We'll check in on the progress of the NBA Conference Finals, and of course, we'll discuss all the other big stories in the world of sports. So enjoy your week. We'll see you right back here next week. Catch our conversations, Facebook, Twitter, that's at War Room Sports. Our blogs, webcasts, and network podcasts can all be found at warroomsports.com. Until next time, everybody, don't accept mediocrity. Be steadfast in the war against ignorance, and we'll see you chumps on top.
Peace out.
6 to 8. Yeah. War Room Sports. Y'all ready? Let's go. Stay in tune to Jimmy. Know the blueprint. Yo. Every Thursday, 6 to 8, they do this. Shout out to Dev, PJ, B. Austin, Doc Bay on replay. WarRoomSports.com. Get that mobile app. If not, dial 323-140012. They be going and you sensitive, then oh well. Yeah. Physical podcast, let's talk sports. Showtime like Magic in the box course. Listen live, push one to join in. Rip your team or listen for your enjoyment. Hip hop scholars, tip stop for knowledge. Should be in sports credits, I ain't talking college. 5 guys, no beef though. Corporate secret, but the streets know. Belafonte, I got a G flow. KC royalty, I'm in beast mode. 2 hours, get your game up. Who's the best in sportscast? You better name us. War Room Sports. Yeah, you know, Jimmy, Dev, DJ, Jack Beck, B. Austin. I'm Jack. Up and coming on the beat.
War Room Sports. www.warroomsports.com. What? Ain't no more to it.